nonprofit that really helps bring opportunities for kids to work with each other, to build a boat that's the same size as they are, 6 feet long. They're working as teams. They're having people come in and teach them about different, the sail, the boat design. They're learning about ocean careers, and they're doing it together. There's a sail team, there's an art piece, there's a science piece with finding the launcher, there's the engineering piece with making sure the boat's assembled correctly. There's a media team that's going to document the whole process. I mean, you've got a whole range of things. And then for the educator, you could do anything from just studying the geography of where these are going to the oceanography of how they're getting there, or the maritime history of how boats used to sail.
Wow.
Think about the manpower that went behind these expeditions, couple hundred years ago, versus now we're sending things out with a GPS transmitter into the ocean. I mean, all these technologies that are out there that's going to help that workforce is going to make, continue innovation to make this world a better place. And this is one of those programs that I think really helps those kids figure out that there's a way to join that. There's a way to become a part of that. And, the possibilities are endless, really.
How do people really get involved in the program?
Yeah, it's usually a school. So we have everything kind of boxed up into a 6 foot long box, and we send the kit for a boat that's prefabricated. So the student component is filling the keel, installing the keel, learning about how the boat was built. There's different aspects for the sail team, the media team, the deck team to come together. And so it's definitely a group project. It's been done, one person at a time, because some people just get really excited by it, but it's really designed for a group and for a team.
Are there adults that get involved and say, let's get a boat? Or is it mostly just for younger
No,
people?
it's all ages. I've seen it done with preschoolers who are more doing the decorating, putting the stuff inside, right, with more of the adults' help in the building aspect of it. But there's a lot of people that come out of the woodwork and, oh, I want to help with that. I want to help with that. And they'll come into the school and help give advice and really help with the project, which is just one of the most beautiful things about this, is bringing those communities together. Why did I send the boat out and the GPS stopped working? Why was the boat damaged? Why was the sail gone by the time it made it across? And I think science can really help us answer some of those questions. What was the wind doing? What was the currents doing? What was the weather like? Did it go through a hurricane? And having those answers to those questions about why.
It's not just modifying something and trying again. It's getting into the data, which gets a lot of us really excited, as hard as it can sometimes be to do those subjects.
Right. Well, because it gives you an answer to your questions, right? It helps you answer why. Why did that happen?
I'm sure there are so many challenges with just the salinity of the water and things surviving in those environments. And are there instructions? I know that's kind of a weird question, but how do they start? How do they know how to start?
Yeah. That's where Educational Passages has tried to make that set of workbooks or those instructions for, here are some recommendations of how to make sure your boat is strong and built, for a better chance of crossing. It's not certainly something we guarantee that happens, because you're throwing this thing out in the middle of the ocean. There are, giant waves, and there is salinity that's going to, might cake over on the solar panel and prevent your GPS from reporting. It's actually one of the first few boats that was sent out at the very beginning, was recovered closer to the coast of Portugal with 250 pounds of gooseneck barnacles, little creatures that are plankton in the water for a while, but they look for something to attach to and to grow on. And they found the boat, and they grew and grew and grew and ended up 250 pounds of these things. So now we recommend what they call anti-fouling bottom paint, which has some chemicals in it that prevent marine organisms from growing on the hull. So there's an example of, we sent a whole bunch of these out there. We didn't know it was going to happen, but now we're learning that, oh, well, maybe they're getting weighed down by these marine organisms growing on them. So that's just an example.
And how heavy is the boat? I mean, I can't, I mean, here's the joke. I can't fathom, ha ha ha. I
Love it.
can't fathom that because the boat can't weigh that much, but it could still have so many particles that it still floats and works and
And
operates.
there's the magic of boat engineering and boat design to have it filled with foam and have it designed to still float no matter what happens to it. The boats are about 40, 50 pounds
Okay.
fully assembled. They have a weighted keel that's got, a good amount of that weight all the way in the back. And so it's sailing kind of back like that into the wind with the sail up at the bow.
Are there rules? Are there things that people can't do with their boats? I mean, is it, I mean, it's not a competition, or is it? I
And
mean,
sometimes it's a competition, if you can launch your boat along with another school's boat, who's going to make it across to Europe first. That's certainly one way to add excitement to it. But it's also a blank slate. We do what we can to provide it as a kit and get you as far as we think we can, where you still have some ownership of it. You're figuring out what goes inside the cargo hold. You're decorating it, you're naming it, you're filling the keel, you're making sure that it's gonna stay, tipped back there when it sails. Um, you're helping find who's going to launch it, right? If you launch it inside the Gulf of Mexico, what are the chances of it going across to Europe? So we put that on the participants to go and explore. Why would that be different? Why would that not make it? And give them those choices.
how does someone get to be executive director of a um, kit boat activity? I know I'm oversimplifying it. Did you have a business background? Where, how did your career journey lead you to where you are now?
It's kind of like the boats, right? Like part of it is drifting and just going where the wind is going to take you. And I'm really lucky that that has happened for me and brought me to such an amazing place. Growing up, my grandmother was a marine docent, which meant she got to go around to different classrooms and teach kids about salt marshes. And I remember she would, going to her house and visiting, and she'd have this giant bag of shells and the horseshoe crab shell. And I remember that very much. I was like, you get to go, that's your job? What? And I was so touched by that. And I didn't grow up on the ocean. I didn't grow up with boats, but I had this personal experience with my grandmother. And as soon as I graduated, I ended up getting to work at a local science center called the Seacoast Science Center in New Hampshire. And I got to get paid to take kids tide pooling, which was just amazing. And there was a group from Vermont that used to come every year, and these kids had never seen the ocean before. And it just put me in a different perspective that I am lucky, living here an hour from the ocean, growing up as I did, but not everyone gets that chance. I mean, from Vermont, that's only, an hour or two, and they had never seen the ocean before. So I am really lucky in how things happened with that. I was working at the Science Center doing anything I possibly could, right? Like, you have a job, let me do it. Anything I can possibly do to help you, because what you're doing is amazing. And that just ended up, leading me to another job and then this job. It just, part of it is what's meant to be will be. But part of it is I always kind of knew I wanted to go into this field.
I think that's so important for people to hear, because if there's something somebody wants to do and they're not seeing that particular company or organization hiring, going the route of volunteering and constantly showing that that you're interested and want to become involved in this, then they start to take you a little bit more seriously. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and have a 4-year degree and a doctorate and a master's and all these things that maybe some of the teaching professionals at the organizations have. Um, so I think that's an important lesson for people to hear. Do you tell me a little bit about your post-high school education? Where did you decide to focus your energy?
So I wanted to do anything ocean. And I chose the University of New England because they had a marine rehab center that was fairly new where they would take in SEALs that had been injured. And I thought that was such a phenomenal opportunity. Then I said, all right, I'm going to choose this school, start volunteering there. And I just did the data entry, anything I possibly could to just be a part of these programs. And I graduated with a marine biology degree and a minor in creative arts because that also just is one of my passions. And I don't have a master's. I didn't go to school further than that. I was lucky where I got to be involved in a lot of different nonprofits, and I've learned a lot about business just by being in it. And these experiential experiences, I think, are really, really important. And like you were saying, just volunteering, get in there. If you know what you want to do whatever you can to help organizations that speak to you. And I graduated high school and college, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew it had to be something ocean. And I think at one point growing up, I wanted to be a dolphin trainer, but as you start kind of going into your schooling, you realize, well, okay, maybe not. There is more to it than that. And I got to realize that, and immediately going into marine education just was a great fit for me.